Let's talk to the man himself, Adam Hudson.
Hello.
Hello, Adam.
Hello, Chris.
It's
Can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you. Can everybody else hear Adam at the second? Can you hear him, everybody? Yes or no? Just give me a thumbs up if you can hear him. Is there anybody in the house alive, or are you all googling? Lean on me. Sue says she can hear you. She's in the frickin' front room with me, Adam.
I can hear you all right.
Honestly, I can hear you as well. Right, Adam. So I want you to explain to everybody in the group. There's 40 people in here at the moment. How did you achieve such drive, desire, sharpness with that dog?
So it's not a new whistle.
It's not a new whistle, you bastard.
No.
You just dropped sales. They've gone back to their old ones.
It's not a new whistle. And in the full video, my whistle actually stops working halfway through.
Right.
I got some grass in it. And it wasn't with cheese.
Grass. When you say grass, are you smoking dope?
No.
Oh, thank God for that, Adam. Don't go saying that in public, will you? Because everyone's listening.
And it wasn't cheese. We definitely didn't use cheese.
You didn't use cheese?
No, we haven't used cheese.
Right. So what did you use then, Adam, to get that into the dog? What was it?
So he's what, 18 months old now, is he?
18 months old. Yeah.
He'll be 18 months old, and for up until, I don't know, a couple of months ago, probably, maybe a little bit longer, 4 months ago.
Yeah.
He's just been focused on gameplay, just gameplay. We've played tennis racket, with a tennis racket, dummies.
Yeah.
And then sort of a couple of days ago, he's got a lot of drive. He's got a lot of go. He wants to play the game. Well, you can see that in the video. He wants to play the game. The recall, we trained by blowing the recall whistle, and when he kept banging out the ball, so he got chased straight after he came home.
Yeah.
And then we've just started to put some control into him. So he has been disciplined. I've never hurt him. Stand by what I've done. And yeah, he's razor sharp.
So the important thing is that we understand gameplay. We understand how important gameplay is, but we also use discipline. You've used discipline on that dog, haven't you?
Yeah.
Right. So if we were doing a scientific experiment and you came into a lab with all the people in their white coats and they go, let's look at this video. How did you achieve this? Oh, this was achieved by cheese. This was achieved by, gameplay. It was achieved by both elements, wasn't it? Discipline and gameplay. But the two together in the right balance gives you a dog that wants to play the game. Does he look at any point in that video when he comes back like he's suppressed because you've used discipline?
No, and he's not suppressed,
Exactly.
If you want me to be honest. And gameplay has been, 95%, probably more than that, up until a few months ago, and I've started to put some control into him.
Yeah.
But he needs some control now, because he would be out of control if you didn't have that. It's not dominance, it's just leadership, being clear, concise, and timing. So one thing that I've learned with this dog is a lot more switched on than other dogs I've kind of come across. And the slightest chink in your timing or your movement, and he will take an opportunity. 100%. He's a real opportunist. So you've got to think about what you're doing, get your timing right. But he's not interested in anything. He's not interested in other people. He's not interested in other dogs. He's not interested in sniffing about. I struggle sometimes to get him to go and go to the toilet, because he just wants to be with you all the time to just play the game. That's all he wants to do.
But isn't that fantastic, Adam, that, like Steve said, that's one happy, focused dog you have there, Adam. And at the end of the day, you've achieved that by not suppressing the drive, but putting the control in at the right time, and it's starting to come together, even though there's going to be breakdowns in the training where you're going to move on to advanced training in a minute. You've not suppressed that drive by flooding him with obedience like so many people do. And then what happens is they then take the dog out on game and the dog says this is higher value than playing those games with you under control, then what happens? The drive goes up and they can't do nothing because they've not used discipline. You've used discipline, but you've created such drive, you've had to use a little bit of discipline at the right time. And like Michael McLaughlin says, interesting thing is it's gameplay followed by discipline, e.g. control, followed by reward of more gameplay. That is the element of how we train.
Yeah, and the next kind of step in it, because you've hit the nail on the head there. He came on in big leaps and bounds. He made big steps over a really short period of time, and I moved on to the dummy launcher.
Yeah.
And I think, being honest, I've probably overdone it, maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
Made him too keen. Made him. Well, it's almost given him the ability to outthink what's going to happen. And outread me. So, but I've spotted that, yeah, and changed what I've done. And I think the advice you gave in Patreon about making him think, I'd kind of come to that conclusion anyway. But it doesn't take much exciting. If you're silly or animated, he gets really silly and animated.
Yeah.
He's very in tune with me. If I'm serious, he's serious. If I'm silly, he's silly. So
yeah.
Whereas my other dog, my lab, who's trained to I would say a reasonable standard. He's not a trial winner, but he's a good quality, working dog, ultra reliable. He feeds less off you. He's kind of just a bit more level-headed.
One of the things I said in the group, and I hope you don't mind me mentioning it, is the fact that you have not suppressed that drive because of your disability. You've literally trusted the fact of you're going to get the dog back with the discipline and the obedience training at the right point, but you're finding him sometimes he wants to test you, and you mustn't let him realize he can get away with it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I can't. And I knew the day would come that it would work out that I couldn't get after him.
Yeah.
Because the same thing happened with the lab. And you've met the lab, haven't you? Anyway.
Yeah.
So the same thing happened with the lab, and I just kind of went back to what did we talk about with the lab, because he started out thinking me and out reading me. And as soon as I changed what I was doing, I didn't have to issue more discipline. It wasn't a case of just get harder or get further.
Yeah.
It was get smarter.
Yeah.
And make the dog think. And if you can slow down the pattern and change it up, they've got to listen to you because they don't get the reward otherwise.
Yeah. And one of the things that's important as well is the first thing you said when you came on and no one forced you, you said what age the dog was. Just say the age again.
I think he's about 18 months old now.
Yeah, so he's 18 months old. When I run a dog in competition, most of the time the dog's going to be 2.5 years old before I enter it in competition. And the amount of work that I put into that dog, but for the first 12 months, I use very, very little discipline, and I just create drive and desire through gameplay. People are so quick to rubbish you because you use discipline, but they don't realize how much you sacrifice by not rushing the dog, where just bribing it with food, boring the shit out of it with discipline, destroys the drive, destroys if you look in the eye of that dog is excited to be with you.
Yeah, it is. And I could have quite easily at 5 months old. So he didn't go on a lead until he was 7 months old.
Yeah.
And I'm quite fortunate that my situation at home means that I can do that. No, I appreciate lots of people can't.
Yeah.
At 7 months old, but when he was like 4 or 5 months old, I was starting to doubt, should I put him on a lead? Is he going to get too out of control? Because they go through phases where they almost self-regulate. So he'll go a little bit wild and then he'll wind himself back in a little bit because he realizes that there's more to life than just running around like a lunatic,
Yeah.
And I just trusted in the process. I mean, I followed I've followed you and Patreon for as long as I can remember now.
Yeah.
And all your videos on YouTube, and and it does excite me watching a dog that's got lots of drive but also got control, and it's not something you see a lot of. Out working, not properly, and that's what I wanted, and so I've trusted in it. I've trusted the method, backed myself, taken lots of advice off people on Patreon.
There's a couple of questions on here. I'll ask you the questions, but one of the questions I wanted to ask you before I read out some of these is, if it was a woman, that dog was a woman, and it were in a relationship, would it be a Latino fiery relationship, or would it be a dull, boring, plain Jane?
It's never boring.
No, never boring.
No, never.
Yeah. And does it make you want to get up and train with the dog because of the nature of the beast? Yeah.
100%. I found it quite difficult with a lab because the progress wasn't always there to see. I had days where I overtrained him. I'll be the first to admit that.
Yeah.
Overtrained him. He found it boring. I found it frustrating.
What did I find it, Adam?
You told me that I was. What was it you said? You're absolutely boring that dog to death, and then you let it run around the field with your dogs, and all I was thinking at the time was, oh my God, I've spent all this time doing steadiness training with him, and now this guy's just turned him off loose with 6 other dogs, but it changed him and it changed me, and I believed in it, and it's worked once. So this time I thought I'd go a bit further and get what I wanted. That's what I wanted. I wanted a Ferrari out in the field.
But the relationship he's got with the other dogs in the house now with you is unbelievable, isn't it? He's come out of himself. They've brought him out of himself, haven't they?
Oh, the Labrador.
Yeah.
Oh, he's like a different dog.
Yeah.
And I actually really, I wish. I mean, you can't change the past, can you? But
no.
That edge of naughtiness that the Spaniel's got, I really like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas the Lab's just, it's not boring because it's really unfair. He's a really good dog. I love it. Like, now the Spaniel's naughtiness has rubbed off a bit on the Lab.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, and they're just a lot happier. He's less needy. He don't want me, he don't want me as much. He's not as moody. He was a bit moody before. And it does work. The power of gameplay. I mean, I've got a terrier pup as well.
I've seen that. Yeah.
The terrier pup and the Labrador play.
Yeah.
They play for 8 hours a day if you let them.
But they create harmony and balance between themselves, don't they?
100%. Yeah.
They learn boundaries without being able to talk, but they communicate with movement, don't they?
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
So one of the questions on here, and I don't want to get too private about this, did you go out with Julian Lees when he come up to see you? And did you go out on the town with him?
I didn't go out on the town with him, no.
Well, he says here, Adam, can you turn the blackbird down?
So Julian was jealous. So he came to my house.
Your missus ain't listening, is he? Your missus ain't listening.
No. He came to the house and he was jealous that we've got birds all over.
Yeah.
So it was a really nice time, and he'd come up to York, or he'd come across to Yorkshire, and he'd done a couple of things over the weekend. He said, "Do you want to meet up and do some training?" So that's exactly what we did, and it was really nice to train with somebody that's like similar mindset. He's got a lovely little dog, shared some stories and had a couple of hours training. It was brilliant.
He's a lovely chap, isn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, we can hear the birds in the background. Unbelievable. Even while we're talking here, you've got birds all around you. You're a babe magnet.
That's it. What can I say? Good breeding.
So I said earlier on Patreon, you can't go back and change the beginning, but you can start where you are and change the ending. And that was by C.S. Lewis. I put that up. A well-trained spaniel is poetry in motion. That video, although it was short and sweet, it was poetry in motion. If everybody could achieve that in the group, it would be special. And they can, Adam, if they listen and follow the system that we train, can't they? They can put that drive into those dogs, and we've seen it. It doesn't just have to be a Corleone bred dog. It's all about not destroying the drive from the start, but putting the control in at the right time. Where are these people out there, these so-called scientists, these so-called experts, talking about putting training into a dog that way? They're all going obedience, 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 aren't they? Food, bribe the dog.
If you look at any of the Facebook groups, there's endless posts about recall, can't get my dog back, no eye contact, doesn't listen, won't come back, just everything. And genuinely, I've had the absolute opposite of that. He is borderline obsessive.
Yep.
In a good way. I wouldn't change it, but someone comes around to the house, it's like they're invisible.
Yeah. But the thing is as well, Adam, for the group, you're a great ambassador, but you've got a great sense of humor, a dark, a dry sense of humor as well. And the stuff you put up about this freaking dog's going to be the end of me, all this and all this and all this. We know how much you love that dog, and you can see how much that dog loves you. And that is a testament to the group of we all use discipline, openly admit we use discipline at the right time. But what they don't, and because they don't want to listen, they don't realize how much gameplay and drive we create by the way we do it. And it's the methodology, isn't it? It's how we do it that creates that end result.
Yeah, absolutely. The hardest part is backing yourself and trusting the system.
Yeah.
And it's a big step. Obviously someone like you who's had hundreds of dogs and the system's tried and tested, and you've been there, done that, learned it. When you're doing it yourself, especially when you're training yourself as well. I mean, other people have seen this dog and sort of said, "Oh, are you allowed to swear on here or not?"
The more, the better.
So other people have seen the dog and they've gone, "Whoa," like you've got your hands full with that, haven't you? Or, bring it out, it won't learn, sat in a kennel, and it needs to be on game, and the amount of pressure that you get from other people to do it their way, you have just got to back yourself and trust the system, I think. Yeah.
And I think your story, I mean, people have seen it in the group. Do you mind me sharing that video on YouTube and doing a video for it as well as on the group when I've done the video?
Not at all. I think the more people we can show, the better,
I
isn't it?
think to show that and yet explain how you've achieved it, I think is absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Not that I haven't achieved success with drive and desire, but for you to have that much drive and that dog to stop on a sixpence at your feet with that much desire, showing you that he loves that game, it's so important, because you actually said that you'd use discipline on him for playing the 3-card trick, and you needed to step it up because he was pushing boundaries. And it's important because we don't show the discipline, because you got arsewipes out there saying that we destroy drive, we make dogs fearful, and it's not. It's absolutely a false narrative that they try to peddle to make themselves classed as better trainers, more educated. I say this, Adam, I don't know if you believe, put up your work and show us, like we say, never mind the bollocks, show us your dog. I would gamble with anybody they could not get a faster recall and a sit at your feet like that with food or gameplay on its own. There has to be a certain amount of discipline to get that into that dog, and the discipline actually enhances the drive, because you said an important thing. You had to come down firm on the dog the other day for not listening to you, but the drive went up. You're going to get people absolutely wet, having damp patches in their knickers if they listen to that, going, how can he promote discipline and say the drive comes up?
So, I mean, Julian, when I went out training with Julian,
did he wear knickers?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
We wore each other's. So when Julian came with us, he had his game bag and he had a fluffy fox toy. It was a teddy bear, yeah. And
what? Not squirrel, not Mr. Squirrel Man with a freaking fox toy teddy bear.
Yeah, he did. He had a fox toy teddy bear.
I worry about him. I worry about him.
And he was stood there saying, "Should we do a retrieve with this?" And I said, "I don't think mine will. I don't think they'll be that bothered about that." And he threw it, and the spaniel ran in. We were just stood talking. The spaniel ran in, and so I'm blaming Julian for this excessive drive. And
this is it. Yeah,
with that toy, right? And Julian was there. I've got no issue. So I didn't tell the dog off with the retrieve in his mouth. Took the retrieve off him. He knew he'd done wrong. Yeah, and I gave him a fairly minor correction, sit, and reinforced the sit. Yeah. Yeah. And the next time I sent him off, he went out twice as fast.
Yeah, exactly.
Ask Julian, take my word for it.
No, but I know exactly what you're saying because I've done it myself. And you create more drive, but you actually can create control at the same time. And people would not even fathom that if they didn't actually try it and do it, would they? It would never believe it, would they?
No, absolutely not. And I think until you've seen it and trusted it, and other people have seen it, and you question yourself sometimes, have I let him go too far? Will I get it back? Is he being too? Because he's not boisterous.
Yeah.
There's a difference between out of control, disrespectful, and drive. When you need him to listen, he listens, and that's kind of what I was aiming for. I just need to make him think a bit more because it could quickly turn into just mindless in out.
Yeah, Michael McLaughlin says reality is most people think a well-trained dog is low drive lap dog who wants to sit at your feet. They don't understand drive. They fear drive, so they suppress it. And Michael's right, but that's the whole point about bringing you on tonight, because I know that the drive has been created by allowing the dog to run in and run in and run in. That way you're not going to have a perfect sit and stay every time to begin with. You're going to have to strengthen that because you've created such drive and desire. But the day you go out in the field with the dog is then going to go, well, game birds are not as important as those dummies and those balls and those dummy launchers that you built up for me first, because that's the love of that's those early learning stages for the dog. You created the drive, then put in the control by using discipline, so the dog doesn't fear discipline. It understands discipline. It knows how to switch off the pressure. Then when it gets on the game, you haven't got what these people who suppress the drive. They don't allow dogs to run in. And then when it does run in on game, they can't do nothing about it because they've never used discipline, and they can't catch the dog anyway because the dog's there before it happens. It's building it up in stages, and it's wonderful to see the stages of your dog you've gone through, because you've gone through that frustration stage of backing off and keep that drive going and keep that. And then all of a sudden, in another 6 months, you will not believe how that dog will change. Now you're going to start to use some more advanced control on the dog, but it's still going to be gameplay, but you can reinforce it once or twice now, and that it will click as if the dog understood exactly what you're asking because you've used discipline in the past, but you're now going to use it. But like we've always said, like any training tool, you have to learn to use it sparingly.
Yeah, 100%.
That's important, isn't it?
Really, yeah, it is really important, and the percentage probably is 95% gameplay.
Yeah,
to 5% discipline. And what you have found, or what I have found, especially with this dog, is you could take him out training, several times in a row, and it just gets better and better and better, and you don't have to use any discipline. Nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, just one day, for one reason, something will happen. They'll think he'll know best, and you have to step in. But it's not, it's not cruel. He doesn't fear me.
No.
And he's got enough drive and wants to play that game to keep keep going.
Yeah.
And at 5 months old, you could have suppressed him no problem because he was really biddable as a puppy.
Yeah, and soft as well, because I know my own lines. They're quite soft at that young age, and you've got to let them become through that naughty stage to get the best out of them.
And he was always quite timid.
Yeah.
He was not in a bad way, but he was quite timid. And if you bend, because obviously they're only little, aren't they, when they're when they're young, they're only small.
Yeah.
And if you bend down over the top of them, yeah, they're a bit like, oh God, what's happening? So I encouraged all that jumping up and all that kind of stuff, and brought him up on my level. I have a tall place board, you've seen it.
Yeah.
And he's kind of really come out with himself, and yeah.
But you shared another video, didn't you, as well, that you took the dog out, and you said, I've not asked him to get on the place board. Look how he volunteers to get on the place board to play the game.
So I have my garage is up the side of a hedge, and it's a little alleyway. It's about 2 foot wide, and he's got a little bit of a dominant streak in him. He always has that. And you'll see it when he comes in with a retriever, dips his head. He wants to try and hang on to it. He's not hard mouthed, he doesn't pull it. He will give it up straight away, but he comes in and puts his head down. And to encourage the straight out, straight back, I did a lot of retrieving in the alleyway with the place board at the end.
Yeah.
And every time you opened the door to go out to the pickup or wherever to take him out, he used to run around the garage and he used to go sit on the place board.
Yeah.
Without asking him,
Yeah.
The gate was open, the pickup was open. He could have gone anywhere, but he decided he wanted to be on the place board. And if you walked around the corner, he'd be sat there wagging his tail like, "Go on then, let's do it." He loves it. How
come? There's a guy out there at the moment. Won't mention his name because I don't want to drag you into a fight with personalities there's a guy out there who's selling his training business and saying that everything can be done with food bowls, whether it's in the kennel, whether it's out in the field. You make the dog go to the food bowl every time. Have you never thought I could get better out of the dog if I used the food bowls?
No, I don't like when it's dinner time. I just put the bowl on the floor in front of the dog and they just charge in and eat it.
Exactly.
They don't eat each other's.
No.
I feed them all at the same time, all next to each other. The bowls are nearly touching.
Yeah.
All 3 dogs, they eat the dinner, and then when they've eaten theirs, they stand back and normally they watch the others eat. And then when all the bowls are empty, they just clear off and pick them up and wash them. That's it. So
do you make them sit and send them separately and play silly games with them like that? I don't, but I was asking. No, I don't. No.
Just put it on the floor.
Yeah, exactly. I've never felt the need to be so dominant that I want to make the dog sit there, then I can go over, take the food off the dog, move it around. I can do that if I want to, but I just let them feed at feed time. Training's training, feed time is feed time. I'm not against using food at certain times to change the mindset slightly on a dog. The tennis, like Steve Pace says, the tennis balls are food-based training. Exactly.
I use food to get him on the place board, like to make a positive association with that to start with.
Yeah.
But not loads. It didn't take loads. Just little bits of cooked chicken or whatever I had, really, leftovers mainly.
I found the same thing with. Now I've changed my system, my format. The dogs have got to get into the truck before they go out training because of the backfield. Because we had lockdown and I've been ill and I've had bad leg. I've had to teach Ninja to get in the back of the dog box. I just throw food in the dog box. Dog jumps in, grabs the food, closes the dog box, no problem. I use food, but I use it sparingly. Like everything else in the training, I use it when I need to use it. But the real skill set is knowing when to use it. And if we don't show that out there in the big wide world, that discipline does not make dogs fearful, discipline does not make dogs hate you or fear working for you or not trust you. But through gameplay and adding it all together, we talk about the 4 quadrants, and I don't want to get technical because I think the simpler you keep it for people and the simpler you keep it for the dog, they understand it in such a simple format. It's the same as that 3-card trick. It's nothing new about it. It's been done for years and years in the gun dog world, but there's little tricks that if you know what you're doing and someone explains it to you, what sequence to send the dog, why to send the dog, when to up it, when to change the game, when to add to the game, that makes the difference if you explain to people about putting the control into the dog at the right time, Adam, doesn't it?
100%, yeah, 100%. And I think that you also need, and I'm not saying I'm an expert at it, but you also need the ability to read the dog when you're doing it. And if you think that the dog is going to out-read you, you need to be able to change what you were going to do sort of fairly quickly.
Yeah.
Thinking. You know, and I think that's probably my biggest learn. When I watched the video back that you put on Patreon where he went wrong, yeah, I do make a really like subtle movement.
Yeah.
I didn't even realise that I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I kind of leant one way and put my other arm up.
Yeah.
And the dog read the lean and went. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when we did it tonight, I was watching the dog and being really conscious about me, and I spotted it again a couple of times. And on the video I sent you, which is the full recall video, the dog is fully turned, looking like the way that they went out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mixed it up and sent him the other way, and they did it perfect.
That's the situation.
Yeah, as humans, we're kind of bred to take the path of least resistance and stick to a thing we don't adapt to change very well. Yeah, but I think you've got to be able to spot the dog, and I didn't realise I'd made that really slight lean, yeah, to the right, and then put my arm out to the left, and the dog went on the lean rather than the arm out.
But that's the value of being able to look back at a video because you videoed yourself, doesn't it?
It's priceless.
Yeah,
Absolutely priceless.
And that's it.
Even if you don't ever show anybody else, you can watch the video 3 or 4 times afterwards, and every time you watch it, you'll spot something different.
But if you do hand it to someone who knows what they're talking about, they're not just going to go, well done. They're going to go, well done. But if you just slightly change that, that will make so much difference. It's like watching that dancing thing, isn't it? The dancing program on a Saturday night. The judges are looking for perfection, but they're not going to get perfection from people who've not danced all their lives, but they're looking to improve them. And that's exactly what happens on the videos. I can't pull people up for everything, but a little bit of input at the right time changes the whole next time you go out training, doesn't it?
100%, yeah. And it's very subtle. The tiniest of little things. The tiniest of little things can make a big difference.
But look how the dogs read us with movement so much, though, Adam, isn't it? It's amazing, isn't it? They are so superior in that way. They say, oh, the nose is the most important thing, but dogs can outread humans, I think, in most of the situations.
Yeah, 100%. Well, like I say, if I'd not have videoed that, I would have come home thinking the dog didn't listen, it went the wrong way.
Yeah.
When I watched the video back, there was a bit of, and you've got to be honest with yourself. You've got to be able to pick fault with yourself, rather than being adamant that you've done it all right and the dog's done it all wrong. You know, and I kind of watched it back and I thought maybe I caused that a little bit. Now it went the wrong way, which I caused, but then obviously it didn't stop, which was the problem because the stop was the clear instructions. So that was 2 separate things. But
if he blows you off on the stop, you know he knows what stop means, so you can punish knowing that he knows what you want him to do. He just pushed that boundary.
And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
You know. So
I mean, Jeff Arroway says, totally agree, videos are priceless. It's the same as Jeff Arroway's videos. He's got a dog there that most people would have given up on. As simple as that. He is such
I've watched all Jeff's videos. I think they're brilliant.
They are, aren't they?
The progress that they've made, right from that very first one, is you wouldn't believe it was the same person or the same dog.
No, you're dead right. And I think they're the really important videos, the ones that people struggle with, the dogs that are challenging, that help other people with very small problems, that just tidy that up and everything will just click in place. And I think it's wonderful that we've got people in the group willing to let others see them going wrong and their dog going wrong. And that's what makes the group. I keep saying it. I know I keep saying it, but without people like yourselves who put up videos and let others see those mistakes, then you wouldn't see how to fix those problems. Anybody can put up a polished dog, a field trial winner that's had 3-4 years training, and make it look special, and everyone goes, oh, I wish I had that. But it's how to get to that stage. And not everybody wants a competition dog. But isn't it funny? We've got quite a few people in the group who've picked up awards, haven't they? They are going into the competition side, and it's great for the group as well to see their progress, isn't it?
Yeah, and like test season now, there's a lot of people posting about tests.
Yeah.
Things, and there's been some really high scores, and you know, they've all followed the same system. They've all got the same training beliefs and ethics. You know, they all contribute. There's some really good quality dogs and people out there.
And the other nice thing is, Adam, it's nice to see that, like, people training with each other. Like you met up and trained with one of the members, other members meeting up with other members and training, reaching out and helping each other. And obviously, if they've got the facilities, because like Julian was down to you and trained with you. Julian's trying to. I hope you're not training on national trust ground, because Julian's talking about the fox again. And
the cuddly fox.
Yeah, the cuddly fox, right.
Both my dogs ran in on, so I'm blaming Julian.
Yeah, the fox soft toy. No, it's what's got more value. Oh no, you're going to buy one of them for 99 quid, don't you? That from one of these dog training sites that looks like. Oh, I want to know where Julian got the fox from. I want to know where he got the fox stuffed toy.
Julian said, "Do you want to keep it?" I said, "I bloody don't. It's to my dogs." Sound crazy.
So Julian says the fox soft toy is the only one of many different types of dummy that I have trained with. Different textures, different weights, so the dog will now retrieve anything. No favorites, no refusals. Exactly. I'm a flat cap man coming from the Midlands, and if I throw my flat cap out, those dogs will retrieve that as well. Anything I throw out there, those dogs will retrieve.
Yeah. Well, mine will and they won't. But the spaniel, it's a good point actually. The spaniel's funny about picking dummies that other dogs have handled. I don't know if that's a.
No, some dogs do and some dogs don't. Yeah.
It's really strange, but but that fox, Julian needs to keep it. I don't want that fox, 100%.
Did he squeak it?
Did he? My dogs in one outing.
Was it squeaky?
I don't know. I bloody hope not. It wasn't squeaky when I picked it up.
Well, you'll know if your dog's got a good mouth, because if he's not, it'll be coming back going.
Yeah, no, there was none of that. But it's lovely. I mean, I've met a couple of people now. I met Mike Eamon, didn't I? We did a bit with Mike, Julian, John Cooper, he's local to me. Yeah. With Rogan, it's Spaniel. Yeah. Again, that's there's some John videos, isn't there? I think. Yeah. Was. Yeah. And that dog was a real handful, and he's through. Looks a different dog, doesn't it? Looks a different dog. Lovely. Yeah. Yeah, lovely dog.
Yeah, he's done a cracking job with it, and yet that's another challenging dog. And what I say is, you watch all these crappy programs that are set up, and that's why I said whoever controls the media controls the mind. That's why I put up that this evening. They sell you that false ideology, don't they, with all these positive only programs that they put up for dog training on the internet and on the TV. And at the end of the day, give them the problem dogs, like you see that we sort turn round. Give them the problem dog that's had 6 months of doing what it wants and saying stuff you, and see if you get that dog back in a short period of time. Unless you know what you're doing and you use discipline. I could go on one of those programs and create magic with discipline, but it would upset so many freaking snowflakes out there, and yet there would not be a dog that you could say that dog had discipline, that dog had not had discipline. If you showed him your dog and said, tell me whether this dog's had discipline or not had discipline, they could not tell, Adam, could they, with the way the dog works, could they?
Absolutely not.
No.
Absolutely not. No, he's full on loving life to the absolute max.
But I bet you there would be some people out there saying, I guarantee that dog's had discipline because the way he comes back, he's shit scared not to come back because they're arsewipes and they haven't got a clue. They have not got a clue. They've been brainwashed by the media. And that's what happens, isn't it? The media turn the narrative in the direction that they want it to go to suit themselves. It's big business, isn't it?
I think if you see dogs that have had excessive discipline or just borderline, is it borderline cruelty? But you can tell because they come back in and the skulk and the neck come near you, the duck every time you put your hands down. I've seen it.
Yeah.
But this spaniel of mine, it'd be up in your coat if you give it the opportunity. It'd be right up on your chest.
But isn't it funny? It's the same as children. If you mollycoddle a child and you overprotect it, it goes out in the big wide world that's not as fair as they think it was going to be, and they can't cope with the pressure. They fold under pressure. And it's the same with the dogs in the house that are pampered and given everything. They have to survive by being with the owner all the time. They get separation anxiety and all this sort of stuff, don't they? Where if you keep a dog in a kennel, he go in a kennel, he want to come out of the kennel, but he sees kennel is part of his life because you can't have the dog out all the time with you. There's times to switch the dog off, isn't there? And say, that's your time to switch off now. And they absolutely do not fear the kennel or hate the kennel. It's part and parcel of their life if you condition them that way. But if you condition them to be on the settee all the time and running around the house being manic, they then can't switch off. And that's why you've got a dog with anxiety problems or doesn't want people in the house, wants to be overprotective. We see far more of that than people who train a gun dog to a good standard.
Yeah.
And it doesn't carry baggage when you use discipline, correction, as long as you use gameplay and trust and build that relationship.
Yeah, I mean, they are kennel, but if you leave the kennel door up, he'll go in on his own accord. He goes in, he'll switch off, and he would quite happily just sit there. He sits outside either in the sun or curled up in the box, and he would sit there for 5, 6, 7, 8 hours. He's not bothered. Just switches off.
But I bet when you get up and move, he goes, "Dad, can I come with you?"
Oh, you go around. Yeah, you go around the corner. You go around the corner or go to the kennel door, and he's sat there like, "I'm ready.
Yeah, exactly. Go, yeah. And that's exactly the same as what I wanted with my kids. When I came home, I didn't want the kids going upstairs saying, "Oh my God, Grumpy Dad's here." I wanted the kids going, "Dad, can I come with you? Can I come with you?" And they used to want to be out with me, the same as the dogs. And it wasn't that you didn't use discipline. It wasn't that you didn't shout when you had to, but they accept the fact that with you, good things happen. Gameplay, having a good time,
Yeah. And it's about having a good balance.
That's it, the balance, yeah.
A good balance, yeah. And there are times when I just let them race around like lunatics. They just let them off, be dogs, and they go around, they chase each other around for as long as you'd let them, but you'd blow the recall whistle the back of your feet within 10 seconds tops.
Yeah. Brilliant.
That's it.
We've got Tommy the Mad Scotsman says, "Are you coming to Scotland?"
Is he inviting me?
Yeah, I don't know. I think he's giving you a cup of tea up in Scotland. Are you coming to Scotland with Chris?
Oh yeah, when I don't know. I'm caught up on the dates.
No, we haven't given the dates yet. I've got an operation in a few weeks' time, so I'll have to wait till the operation. Steve Pace, thanks. Been hard work, but feel we're getting a bit better now. All credit to Chris. No, all credit to you, Jeff, and all credit to everybody who owns a dog who's put the work in. Because without the work, and it is some work, you have to have the commitment. If you haven't got the commitment, you ain't going to get a dog like some of these boys have got in the group. Some of these dogs in the group, I couldn't train a dog any better than they've trained them. They followed my system, but they've put the work in. And without putting the work in, you're not going to achieve success. That's the only way you're going to achieve success. I've never met a dog yet that was born trained. Never. people say to me, "Oh, it trained itself." I've never had the joy of being able to say that dog trained itself.
I just thought,
Yeah. You sold me this Corleone pup as a fully trained spaniel.
Did I?
Yeah, I think I remember you warned me, didn't you? You said, "You see that tough to sticky up hair on the what is it? His mad streak."
Yeah.
You warned me as you put him in the car and waved me off into the distance. Be careful, that dog's got a mad streak.
I say to people, every dog that leaves this premises has a guarantee until you go past that gate.
Yeah. Yeah, I bought 2 of them back, if you remember, and they screamed their heads off for 6 hours all the way home. It was the best car journey I've ever had.
Did you? Did they? Who did you bring one up for? You brought someone up for?
Kerr. It was Kerr.
Oh, that was it. Yeah, Kerr, yeah.
Aspen. She went up to Inverness, and it was so. Inverness is probably York is probably
halfway in it. Yeah. But that was a good trip, wasn't it?
Bought them both back, and she stayed here overnight, and then they came down for it the following day, and saved him some fuel money as well, because it would be a long journey. Yeah. Well, I'll take me hat off to you. You've reached out and helped other people as well, and that's what it's about. David Jones says it doesn't happen on its own or overnight. You don't train a dog overnight, and you don't train it on its own. You have to get out there and put the work in. But if you've got someone who's give you good foundation to build that training on, then it makes life simpler, doesn't it? It's as simple as that. Yeah, and quality training is better than quantity, 100%. I've definitely learned that.
Steve said it would be bloody boring if a dog trained itself. I don't think so, Steve, because I'd just breed them and have them in the kennel and leave them there till people want them, because that's a fully trained dog. It trained itself. Don't blame me. It trained itself.
But Steve Chase also said, Adam, he could have.
I think that's a true saying, though. If you think about it, dogs train themselves. They will train themselves if you don't give them guidance.
Yeah, 100% in all the wrong things.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Steve Chase said that Adam could have used that fox for target practice. He should have had it.
I think Adam should have missed a thing there. He should have put that fox in a snare and freaking upset some fluffies out there.
For the toy fox.
Yeah. Or he should have chased it around the field on a horse. Well, it's been brilliant chatting with you, and I was so impressed with that video. I had to say so. Congratulations, well done. I said to Sue, I said, has he got a Golden Globe? Has he got an Oscar? And she said, yes, he's got one. So you're not getting another one at the moment because
I've got one. Yeah.
You've got one, haven't you? Yeah. And I think the next prize we're going to do is the person who gets the dog to bring the Oscar back. There's 3 or 4 of them out there, the Oscars. We don't give them away for nothing. But wouldn't it be funny if you put it out in the field and the dog came back with the Oscar?
We'll try it. Do you remember when we did the...
Hey, that's a challenge, isn't it, with our trainers and the people who have achieved success and been given Oscars. Let's see who can put the first video up, the dog bringing the Oscar back.
Do you remember when
with no teeth marks. No teeth marks.
Of how close you could stop your dog to
yeah.
Remember that one?
Yeah.
And my Labrador bought the GoPro back.
That was it. Yeah, remember that. That was so funny. Yeah.
Left the dummy and bought the GoPro back.
Yeah. Just shows you got a good nose. Anyway, anybody got any questions for Adam before we go? Like everybody in the group knows, Adam's one of the members who keep in touch with everything and very active in the group and puts up videos, and we have a good crack and a good laugh. It's nice to see when people do that, they reach out and make that extra effort for the group. It's good for the group. Anybody got any questions? Anybody want to ask him any questions? Don't forget, what about your do you want to promote your shooting? Do you want to promote what you do in the season while you're here? You've got 5 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I think most people know anyway, but kind of one of the things that I'm really passionate about is about people that are training dogs that don't have any understanding of why you're training them. And by that, I mean, never been on a shoot, don't understand why you would pick a runner over something that was dead, or why you would need a stop whistle, or why, you know, what the difference is between a max retrieve or a memory retrieve and how you would use it in the field. So that's what we do, sort of beginning of the shooting season and towards the end of the shooting season. So it's more about experience, and we do help people on the day. I think the challenge is always the quality, or the standard of dog is always very different. Yeah, some are really good, some are not so good. And, you know, we've helped a lot of people, and all our picking up team are people that we've met who've come through this. You know, they've got some brilliant dogs. Our beaters are the same. Yes, that's what.
And tell everyone where you're based, Adam, and if you.
Yeah, so I'm based just outside of York, and the shoot and all the shooting activity and everything is just around York. So yeah.
Just outside York, yeah.
Yeah.
So you do single parties or do group bookings? You do both, don't you?
Both, yeah. We've done both. We've had some gun dogs, like some gun dog trainers have been up, bought their groups. We've had more experienced people who we've taken out actually picking up, because there's a skill to picking up, you know. So we've bought people and like coached them, helped them, supported them. It's been less about the dog training, if that makes sense, and more about the people training.
Yeah.
And I think that's just, you know, I've definitely, you know, reached out and helped some people separately, but it's always got to be people that are willing to take sort of fairly honest advice. And,
yeah.
There's a lot of people who are in denial about how good the dogs are because of what their trainers have missold them.
Yeah. One of the questions on here we've got just before we go, Adam, with your next pup, will you let the dog go as long before putting the control, or leave it the same sort of time if the spaniel's the same roughly?
Well, I think it's going to depend on the dog. My next dog's going to be another lab. I'm actually putting my dog out to a bitch this weekend, actually. So I'm going to have a pup out of that. So what will that be? September-ish, I would think. But
still the same principle. Would you leave it longer than you would with the Labrador, your first one, or are you going to let the dog go, let it run in and then put the control into the dog?
Oh yeah, I'm definitely going to follow the same method. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I think the only thing that I would maybe do a little bit different is, I think if I was being really critical, I think I tried a bit too hard when he was really young to get a retrieve into him. Yeah.
Yeah.
The spaniel. I mean, it's come good now because we've stuck at it, but I think for my next dog, I will just follow the same process and trust that I make the right judgment when it needs some control.
So let's just finish on one last question from me then. What's the biggest thing you learned since joining the Corleone Way?
The biggest thing that I've learned, well, there's a couple of things. I mean, if I was to just say one, it would be probably timing more than anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
And that's what I get out of watching all the videos. I can watch videos now and think, God, that timing was awful.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can watch other videos of myself and other people and think that timing was spot on. Yeah. And the difference that makes to the dog and the training session is unbelievable. Until you've watched a lot of videos and seen good and bad, it makes such a massive difference. And the other thing that I've learned is less is more.
Yeah. So Kieran Evans says the biggest thing I've learned is never trust Chris with a £5 challenge.
I've never been in that position yet. Oh, the third biggest thing is we don't ever buy a stuffed fox and get Julian to throw it without telling them.
Exactly. On that note, everybody, I want to thank Adam. That's been a great evening. I've really enjoyed the chat this evening. When I'm on here, some days I go, what am I going to talk about tonight? Because I've done so many of these. But when we get someone like Adam who comes on as a breath of fresh air, it's great to listen to our members giving their input what they've succeeded with, and helping others as well, because that's what this group is about. It's about reaching out and helping others who have been turned over and fleeced by trainers out there. So I'd just like to say, never mind the bollocks.
One question, though.
One question, Susan says, she's trying to push me to the limit. I'm going to let Adam answer it. Go on, Adam, you can answer it.
From Denver. My new puppy tries to snatch the retrieve back after handling it over. How can I solve this without too much discipline, as she is only 7 months old?
What would you say?
So I couldn't quite hear that, Sue. Say it again.
So he says, Denver says you've got a 7-month-old Springer that will retrieve to hand and then try and grab it when he's in his hand. What does he do about it? What would you do about it? After,
so I'd probably leave the dog with it in its mouth a bit longer.
Yeah.
Probably slow down a touch, and when you take it from the dog, take it slowly and move back slowly. And I think if it was to snatch, I would probably just step into the dog, so long as the retrieve is out of its mouth.
Would you make much of it at 7 months of age?
No,
I wouldn't.
7 months old. If it's coming back to hand, I'd take that. Cause,
I'd praise the dog. I would not make a big thing of it at 7 months of age, because if that dog is at that real learning stage, and if you think I'm going to use discipline and knock that back, you could knock the dog back. And if I've not seen the dog retrieving, I don't know how keen it is. And even a keen dog, I wouldn't be using negatives. I would be more using positives. May put a little bit more control into the dog, tell the dog to sit like Adam says, and teach that dog to calm it down. But at the end of the day, I would not make too much of it. I wouldn't want that dog dropping that retrieve. A dog that wants to grab it, not a real big problem at 7 months of age. Brilliant, Adam. Thanks very much indeed. Really enjoyed that. You've got people in here saying, great chat tonight, bollocks. They've enjoyed that. They've enjoyed it.
Yeah, bollocks to everyone.
Well done. Cheers, mate. Bye-bye.
Catch you in a bit.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. It's nice to do a chat with someone else. We cut all the crap out sometimes, don't we? And get into a serious side of it. And yet we still got humour in there and banter in it. So I want to thank Adam. Great chat. And worth listening to this week, wasn't it? So there you go. Thanks a lot, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Chris and Sue signing off. No, not one mention of sex. You missed it. You missed it, Karen. You came in late. Karen, you missed it. We were talking about sex earlier on. We were talking about stealing women's knickers, if you really want to know, but you'll have to watch the beginning of it. No, not me stealing women's knickers. I must stress that. I'll have the boys in blue round here, won't I? Hey, they'll be looking for the evidence and going, yeah, I know where this is from. Nick. I'll watch it back. He says, "Are you dirty bastard?" Catch you all later. Cheers. Thank you. Bye bye.